What's up, everyone? Champ back again for another UFC predictions video. This time for UFC 313, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Very excited for this event. It's going to be a great time in Las Vegas. A lot of great fights, stacked, fun card. Pretty top heavy, but still, I think it's a lot of fun fights on there. I'm very excited to talk about it. But first, as always, let's go through last card and how I did on predictions and betting, and then we'll get into the next one, which is this week. So let's get into it. Not good for me betting wise, and considering how I did on picks, it should be kind of expected. So we'll go in order. Which was the first? Probably Andre Lee. Oh my God, Andre Lee versus JJ Aldrich. I didn't put too much on this. I didn't go that crazy with Andre Lee because I didn't have that much belief in her. But man, it's not good. She won round 3, but she didn't really do much. Everything else, she got outsped, which I was kind of shocked about, but I really shouldn't have been. Just head movement not there. It's non-existent. She's just so hittable. Yeah, not great. Not great by Andre Lee. I don't really know what else to say. Good win by JJ. What else did I have a bet on? That was before. Yeah, it was probably Ricardo Ramos was next. I bet Ricardo Ramos pretty small to make like a unit. Yeah, I kept it small for a reason. I knew it is pretty dangerous to go against Chepe in that fight with a guy who's like known for gassing and stuff like that. Chepe still didn't finish. I don't think we necessarily covered that money line, and even then, Ricardo Ramos was able to hurt him. So it's like I'm not even that mad that I took the shot on it. I don't think that was like ultimately like the worst bet I made at all, by all means. So yeah, but still, Ricardo Ramos didn't really do much. Fighting Nerds did nothing for him. Whatever, Fighting Nerds. Next fight. This was my biggest bet of the card, Mario Pinto. I wish I just kept it to this one, but it is what it is. I bet Mario Pinto, and I make 2 units. Boy, I love me some Mario Pinto. I said that this is one of my favorite prospects coming out of Dana White Contender Series. So of the ones that are not as obvious, because I knew Loner Kavanaugh is really good, of course. But it was like him and Garule I highlighted of the guys have not fought when it was like beginning of the year. And yeah, Mario Pinto, I think he's the real deal. I have a lot of belief in him. Yes, he got knocked down. That's not good, but his good recoverability, he's got nice hands, good defense. He can defend himself pretty well. He can get up from wrestling. They didn't have a problem with the wrestling here, which is like what I was worried about because maybe Austin Lane was like the best wrestling spot. It wasn't really a problem too much. Leave me some Mario Pinto, and he's young. He's going to keep getting better. Anyone who thinks like and with his skill set, he's already good enough to probably be a ranked heavyweight. Genuinely, still take him slow. Don't rush him. He's still young. He can still get better. But yeah, I like me some Mario Pinto. I think he's the real deal and someone to really look out for in this division. And I can say I was there day one with the UFC. William Gomes versus Hyder Emil. No. I skipped Danny Barlow versus Sam Patterson. How did I forget this one? No, that one's the one after. But yeah, I want Danny Barlow to finish Sam Patterson. I made sure not to bet his money line because I thought it was kind of steep, and it was steep. I'm happy I decided to go with this route because that was mainly the big way I thought Barlow would win. Barlow was winning until he didn't. Patterson caught him bad and put him out. It's similar to how Imavov and Izzy was, where like once Imavov caught him, Izzy like fell down, and then a big shot from Imavov puts him down even more. It was very similar to that with Patterson. I still don't think Patterson's that great. By all means, I do think his grappling is really good, but on the feet, this guy can be had. I really do think that. But I can't take away from Patterson. Good job finding the shot. Fair play. Then William Gomes versus Hyder Emil. This is my second biggest bet of the card. I had a lot of belief in Gomes this week. It was close. Like all Gomes fights were. I didn't think it would be close, which is why I was more willing to bet William Gomes because I thought he would absolutely pick Hyder Emil apart. Not so much the case, although I do like things I saw from Gomes here. He's a fighter. You can absolutely call him a fighter because other dudes melt against what Hyder Emil was doing, but he was still throwing the whole time. He was trying to go crazy. I don't know why he was doing as many spinning elbows as he was in like round 1. That was not smart, but he's young, of course. He's still got a lot of time to be better, get better. I think you can arguably give him rounds 1 and 2, but giving rounds 2 and 3, obviously 3, and obviously round 1, round 2 decided the fight. Round 2 you can absolutely give to Hyder. I can't be mad at that. The reason why, like I said, I bet Gomis because thought he would absolutely dominate. I was thinking he maybe even get a finish, which is why I put like scorecards no action Gomis. So I thought there was like value there. But no, Gomis wasn't able to do enough. Sadly, it is what it is. I still like me some Gomis. I hope in the future we get good odds on Gomis, because Gomis is really good, and I think that fight also showed you he is good. Hyder Emil like really impressed me because he was able to do what he did to Gomis, which not a lot of other people have been able to do. But hey, shout out Hyder Emil. That guy's fun as hell. I'm surprised he kept his O. Shout out to him though. And then the next one I had a bet on was Nasrat Haqparast versus Esteban Ribovics. I had a very small bet on this fight to go under 2.5. I knew they were both really tough and like it might not hit, but like at the odds, I thought it was value. It did look like value. I did think both guys got hurt, but hey, it is what it is. I was just playing the number, really. Just a value play. Not like I was like super duper confident, which is why I didn't put too much on it. That was a great fight. That was an amazing fight. Arguably could go either way, but I would lean Nasrat. I thought he was more cleaner in round 2. Although if they gave it the Ribovics, I would have been like, I'm not that mad. I wish I did bet on Nasrat though, because I was like, this line is off. I wish I did do that, but hindsight's 2020. And then I bet also on Magomed to win in the main event. Didn't put too much on it. 0.4 units. I did not put much on it. Honestly didn't have anything. It was a levels fight. I thought there would be a chance he could get takedown, stuff like that. Just wasn't the case, man. Cop is too good. I got to give some respect to Cop. I totally underestimated him going into this one. Yeah, it's true that he doesn't fight the same when he fights like grapplers, stuff like that. But man, also had nothing in terms of the grappling. So respect to Manel Cap. He looked really good. So now that is done. Let's go through Tapology to go through the rest of my picks. And I did really, really bad on this card. I got like 3 out of 10. Where does it say? 3 out of 10. I did awful. Temirov Johnson. Oh, yeah. I mean, I couldn't track this on Bet Me That Tips because you can't track live bets. But I did end up live betting Johnson. Not huge because I was not crazy about how this is looking. I think you can argue Johnson won this fight, although probably give it to Temirov at that like rounds 1 and round 2 again was close, but it's fair to give it to Temirov. Yeah, Johnson didn't get going enough until later in the fight. Kind of story of Charles Johnson. And Temirov looked pretty good, and man, this guy hits like a truck. So shout out to Charles Johnson not getting chinned by this guy. Tough dude, still fell on his butt a few times if I remember correctly, but yeah, not the best from Charles Johnson, but good for Temirov. Going up, Lucas Almeida versus Danny Silva. Yeah, I went with Danny Silva to win. I thought he'd be able to get a finish, but it's not like he really looked for a finish so much in this fight, which is interesting. Although I think both guys cracked each other pretty good, and Danny Silva especially more so. And it did look like Lucas Almeida was hurt, but he's able to keep composure and keep himself in there. Yeah, Danny Silva put it on him. I thought it was pretty clear. I was surprised to see it was a split. But yeah, good win by Danny Silva. Absolute volume machine. He's really good. Talked about this one. Talked about this one. Talked about this one. Talked about this one. Talked about that. Oh yeah, Cody Brundage versus Julian Marquez. I went with Brundage. I wasn't confident at all, and I feel justified not being confident with how that fight was going. It was a really fun fight. Both absolutely went to war and left it all out there. The ref might have saved Cody Brundage, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. Because Cody Brundage was pretty hurt up against the cage, mouthpiece out, but then put at the mouthpiece and it gave Brundage breathing room and able time to readjust and throw back at Marquez. And Marquez got hurt down, and that was it. So good one by Brundage. Good one by Brundage to stay in there and win, but Mark Smith will Mark Smith at that. Anyways, now let's get into the card I'm more interested in. One this week. I'm very excited. Ozzy Diaz versus Jordan Santos. I'm going to go crazy. Give me Ozzy Diaz to win via KO. Round 1 or 2. I think it'll be It'll probably be early. Let me explain why I like Ozzy Diaz here. For one, I'm not a fan of this Jordan Santos guy. I don't think he's that good. The Will Curry fight on Dana White Contender Series, I remember watching it thinking, I don't think this guy's good at all. Will Curry fought really dumb. Like, I don't know what his game plan was going in there to fight how he did. And then Jordan Santos, like it looked like Will Curry was begging to be finished, and this dude just wouldn't do it. So I will say this under 2.5 or like under, I know Ozzy Diaz has like always gone under, so I would lean that way. But at the same time, this dude Jordan Santos, he seems like a kind of guy who would just carry dudes to the decisions. So I think that's like kind of like a risk, if I'm being quite honest, if we're looking at it like on a total standpoint. But the reason why I like Ozzy Diaz, because I think this is a step down in competition from guys he's been fighting in the UFC. Ming Yang Zhang. I mean, come on. I mean, he hasn't been in the UFC too much, but I'm talking about like Dana White Contender Series. Joe Pyfer. I mean, as Joe Pyfer. And this is at 185. And these other fights of like up weight classes. Now he's back down to middleweight, which I think he sizes up a lot better. I think he's going to pack a better punch. It's going to be a worry about the speed. But the thing is with Ozzy Diaz, he's not going to be winning until he does. Like, that's just how Ozzy Diaz is. I'm probably going to look like a fool, especially if he loses, because he's not going to be looking good at all until he finds a shot, because that's just how Ozzy Diaz fights. But do I think he finds a shot? I think it's possible, because I don't think this Jordan Santos guy is anything special. Like, I'd put him in the same realm as these LFA guys he's beating. Like, I don't see it. Am I willing to bet it? I don't think I am. Like, maybe live I'll be more interested in doing it. I'm not going to track this at all, because I don't want to try. I don't want to put money on like this kind of fight. I mean, maybe I do and just put like a 0.01 or something like that, 0.1, just for fun. Say, oh, I had a little bit of money on Ozzy Diaz. But even then, I wouldn't even bet the money line. Bet just KO. He's not gonna go for some sub decision, maybe because it's Jordan Santos, but I don't even think so. Probably KO is the way to go, and because it's gonna be better odds. But yeah, I lean Ozzy Diaz. I think he finds a shot. I think coming down the middleweight, a weight class more fit for him. I think it's going to be better for him, and I think he's going to do well. Next fight up the card, Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. I love this fight. I really like both these guys. I'm a big Chris Gutierrez fan. I'm a big John Castaneda fan. Sexy Mexi, the man. So this is actually like a really hard one for me to call, but I'm going to go with Chris Gutierrez. I think I won a decision. This fight probably goes long. I just think this is an interesting fight, because I do think Gutierrez will do pretty good early at the very least. He'll have his game going, jabs, leg kicks. It's that style of like moving, don't get hit as much. So I do like a lot. But the thing is with Castaneda, Sexy Mexi, I think he knows the game plan here. Gotta go stay on Gutierrez, pressure, and have that maybe get to Chris Gutierrez. Does it get to Gutierrez? That's going to decide the fight. I do think Gutierrez will be fine. I'd like the big cage for him here, and I think that's going to be doing good work for Gutierrez. And I think he's going to be able to get this going. He was preparing for Gene Matsumoto for a while, and then Matsumoto obviously pulled out of that fight just to step in the fight Rob Font, up the rankings. But now Castaneda was fighting Doug Silva de Andrade. Doug Silva de Andrade out with an injury. Now coming in here, that's just a different matchup for Sexy Mexi. While Gutierrez, Jane Matsumoto was going to pressure him. So he was preparing for something like that, probably. I'm assuming, if he's smart. So I think from that standpoint, it's pretty good. I do like for Castaneda that this fight's at 145 catch weight, because obviously just cut weight. Obviously cutting weight again is not so great, but it's less weight to cut. Still, you do cut weight multiple times. It's not great. So I have to lean Chris Gutierrez. I think he's going to be able to get done. Although I do think Sexy Mexi has a chance at getting wrestling success, which would be a big worry for me on the Gutierrez side. I'm not crazy about putting a bet on this fight. Maybe if I were to look at a bet, it'd be like significant strikes Gutierrez, because he's really good at those. He's fantastic in that realm of like just striking and not getting hit. I'm actually curious. I want to check UFC stats real quick on that. The striking differentials of both of them. I am very curious now. It's the striking differential. Strikes landed per minute, 4.72 for Gutierrez, 4.67 for Castaneda. Makes sense. Strike accuracy more for Gutierrez, like 10%, 9% more. Strikes absorbed 264 to 5.22. And the defense is 64% to 54%. I think 6 strikes Gutierrez is probably a really good bet. And I think that's probably going to be a better bet than just betting any guy. Maybe Sexy Mexi spread is all right, but minus 230, that's just nasty. I don't want to have part with that, especially with judges. Like maybe like one has 30-27 and the other one's just have it 29-28. It's like, oh, this judge is still stupid. You don't want to be relying on that sometimes at those odds. So yeah, give me Chris Gutierrez. I think he'll win. Not confident. I like me some Sexy Mexi. I want to be mind if he gets upset here. Myron Santos versus Francis Marshall. All right. Excuse me, but I'm going to have to go very in-depth in this breakdown. This is the fight I've studied the most this week. And it's the one I'm most passionate about, and I'm going to really get into this one. And all the quirks and kinks that are involved. I'm going Francis Marshall to win this fight by decision. I think Francis Marshall is going to win this fight. I know Myron Santos is a pretty big favorite. Not so much anymore. I think a lot of money has actually come in on Francis Marshall. Smart people. But I really do like Francis Marshall here, and I'll tell you exactly why. I'm not crazy about Myron Santos. Let's go over Myron Santos' past. Con Ofley, and this leaves out the 2 Ultimate Fighter fights, which I'm going to talk about a lot in this like breakdown for this fight. Those tough fights were, I don't remember the guy's first name, but it's Torres, the Mexican guy that Grasso picked with her first pick. I don't know why, other than maybe a Mexican flag, but I don't want to be presumptuous, but honestly, that's probably why. And Edwin Cooper Jr., who was on like Team Shevchenko, and like a wrestler. And so you just look at it playing out. Edwin Cooper, good wrestler, wasn't able to do too much. Although round 1, Edwin Cooper is able to take down Myron Santos and hold him there for the most part. And then towards the end of the round, Myron Santos was able to get up, didn't do much. But then on that fight, he shot not good takedowns, and his hands are not good. They're not good. He's got like a jab that's just mechanical, like very, and I don't mean that in a good way. It's like robotic in nature. It doesn't seem natural, all flowing like Santos. He was a good Muay Thai striker. And he just didn't shoot too many takedowns, like as much. He wasn't doing himself any favors, and you would hear Valentina Shevchenko in the corner, clinch, go for a takedown, do that ground. It's like begging Edwin Cooper to do that. And of course, maybe he was tired. I don't think that's necessarily out of the question, because I know Edwin Cooper in that season having problems with like alcohol. Like, this may be being a little presumptuous. Yeah, having problems with training partners. So maybe he just wasn't training as hard, things like that. Or maybe he was just getting absolutely outworked by Santos. Like out in the open, you shoot really not great takedowns, and Santos should easily sprawl them. It's like, well, whatever. These are from pretty far away. I know he's a good wrestler, I know that, but he doesn't have the hands to set them up. But that's like the key thing I want to highlight. Like, and even with that, he was able to get the takedowns. But not that many from after round 1 on. Like round 3, he was able to get one towards the end of the round, and that was a split decision. If I remember correctly, I think it was a split decision, or if it wasn't, it was like 29-28. Definitely was 29-28, because round 1 gave it Edwin Cooper. And I remember thinking when watching, is like, I think you can arguably give this to Edwin Cooper. It was really close. With Torres, that was on very short notice. It was on hours notice, and they were on like the same team. Like, Torres wasn't necessarily expecting it, because Ramasca got pulled out of that fight because of, I don't remember the exact reason, because head trauma or something like that. The commission pulled them out anyways. Ramasca versus Myron Santos was supposed to be the fight, but it became Torres versus Santos. And if you don't know, Torres is a very old fighter. I think he's like 38, 37. I'm pretty sure he's 38. And he's like a former Olympic wrestler. He's not good. He's not that good. He got absolutely worked by Rudy Rudes. Or Rudes, I think, was the last name. like the South African guy who got absolutely worked by Con Ofley. Like, had nothing for Con Ofley. Like, that's, what is there to make of that? But Torres is able to get Santos down a few times with hours notice without really like prepping for like, okay, I'm gonna fight. While the takedowns weren't like anything super spectacular, and like this is a former Olympic wrestler and he's older, to be fair. He was able to get him down. Santos able to spring back up, no problem. So I get that. So credit to Myron. But something else I do want to mention about Myron in these fights and like tough. This is how people, to me, like, this is how I interpret people describe Leon Edwards. I don't. This is not how I think of Leon Edwards, but people think of Leon Edwards in this way, where he just doesn't throw anything, and it's like it's all super calculated, but he just this no volume. That's how I feel about Myron Santos. Obviously, he's a very good striker. Again, very calculated, picks his shots, which is like a good thing. But it's to the point where it's like the volume is just not there. Got very good leg kicks, so I will say that. Now we'll mention that when talking more about Marshall. But like, I feel like some of these guys, especially Torres, on like short note, these guys, Torres had no striking. Like, his striking was so bad, and like Santos, of course, would piece him up, do what he needs, but just not capitalize enough. Obviously, he's winning the rounds, but I inflict more damage in this sport where judges can screw you over for like doing things like that. It's just not enough damage at the end of the day, and I really wasn't impressed by that at all, that performance. And then for the Ofley fight, he looked great. Of course, he looked great. Ofley's been dropped like that before, not finished. I get that. Myron Santos is the first one to get the finish on him, but it's just like, that fight was always going to be binary. Like, Ofley was a lot smaller, and like his only when I did my breakdown of that fight, I described Ofley as like Volkanovski coming into the UFC, but like the same sort of hands, like not the best with their hands when coming into the UFC. Not as good wrestling, but better jiu-jitsu. His jiu-jitsu is pretty legit. If he can get into like top position, if he can get that position, it's dangerous with that guy. He was never able to get to that, and that's why the fight looked like how it did, just being open, having to close in, but like not able to really shoot that much. Wasn't able to shoot that much. I think that is somewhat credit to Santos, because Santos did a really good job at like keeping distance. But Con Ofley has like no real way of setting up the takedowns. He's had to try and force it, but he's not able to do it. And then in this next fight, Ofley just went on to look horrible against Naimov. Had nothing for him, absolutely nothing. I don't think Naimov's anything really special, to be honest with you. Just didn't have anything for Naimov. And this level of competition, I'm not really like, am I supposed to be impressed with? Like, Edmund Cooper Jr., I think is probably like the best out of all those guys. Myron Santos' spot. Maybe Dan Argueta. Of course, Dan Argueta absolutely worked Myron Santos. I'm not even looking too much into that because I think he's better than he was back then. But he got worked in the grappling there. I'm assuming Francis Marshall going to be coming in with a game plan to try and do something like that. Out of Extreme Couture, he's getting better. It's a good gym for working on takedown defense and just wrestling in general. Although I will say this, he's been at Extreme Couture for a bit now. So I'm not sure if necessarily we'll see like the biggest leaps, because he's been there. He's been there. As I will talk about Francis Marshall. I'll get more into that. With Myron, the striking is nice. The leg kick, I think, is like the thing I'm really worried about with Francis Marshall. I think his power might be a little bit overrated because of, he KO'd all Ofley, but it's like whatever to me. You got guys super open. I know Marshall has been seen to be open before. I get that. But I will talk about that as well. And like, yes, he sets up everything, but I think in the middle of the cage, his wrestling defense is pretty good, but up against the cage, I'm not crazy about his wrestling defense, if I'm being honest. And even then, when he sprawled in the last part of round 3, when he like sprawled Edwin Cooper Jr., Like, oh, he did a great job sprawling. Then Edmund Cooper Jr. stayed on him and adjusted another position, found another leg, and then Myron Santos fell over and then stayed on the ground the rest of the round. There was not much time on the rest of the round, so it was not the end of the world. He did enough to probably win the decision. But like stuff like that can absolutely matter, and it's like that's something to consider. Now Francis Marshall. I have a lot to say about Francis Marshall here. I think people are really overlooking him. Like, I know a lot of people are saying, oh my God, Myron Santos is so young. He's getting better. So is Francis Marshall, who's I'm pretty sure actually is 26 now. He just turned. Happy birthday. I love that he moved to ATT, American Top Team. This is a relatively new move. He's now 15 months there after like making that move from New Jersey. Now he's like full time now in Florida. And he's been training with these really good guys. He's been training with the likes of Grant Dawson, who's pretty much kept him under his wing, Mateus Gamrot, Movsar Evloev. I think all those guys are amazing training partners to have. And for a guy as young as Francis Marshall to be soaking in that information with and training in the training room with these great dudes every day, he's just only going to get better. Maybe his wrestling has not been the best. It's not been the best. It's going to get better. It's going to be better than it was. I truly believe that. His striking defense, not so great. I think it's going to be better. And I'll get into that because in an interview I saw with Fight Bananas with Francis Marshall, he talked about the improvements he's made. He's talked about improvements of his top game. He's talked about improvements in his defense. He talked about improvements in his head movement. And he's talked about improvements in his kicks. So I think all are like things that were not so good for him. Like obviously you need to work on, especially the head movement, which I'm very, very happy to hear about. Because yeah, if this was like Francis Marshall in the past, he'd be getting hit like a lot by Santos. So that's good to hear that he's working on the head movement to be not getting hit as much, which is awesome. Perfect. And I also want to say this about Francis Marshall. I already believe that his hands are good enough to make the wrestling more accessible, I should say. Even if he's not as good of a wrestler as like Edwin Cooper Jr. is in like credentials, something like that. I think it's just going to be, it's going to be more open because Francis Marshall does have hands. He does have hands. And he's got pop in those hands as well. He can strike and land some big ones. He dropped Dennis Bazooka. Very nice. Marcelo Rojo. Very nice. And I'll get into his record as well. Connor Matthews, whatever. And so because of him having the hands, I think he can open up the takedowns through that. Some people are going to look at the cardio in his last fight against Dennis Bazooka, which was a split. And I will talk about why that was a split, because Adelaide Bird's an awful judge. He got tired in that fight because it was short notice. It was a 4-day short notice fight. People are completely forgetting about that. Francis Marshall comes in, absolutely out-wrestles Dennis Bazooka round 1. Round 2, he drops Dennis Bazooka, which is also a round that Adelaide Bird gave to Dennis Bazooka. Yeah, Dennis Bazooka did pretty nice stuff at the end of the round. But, that doesn't trump a knockdown. That's a clear unanimous decision win for Francis Marshall. It really should be. And I think a lot of people are looking down on Francis Marshall, oh, split decision with Dennis Bazooka. What is this guy doing? Nothing like that. And again, I think the cardio was not the best because of the short notice aspect of it. Yeah, he's at ATT, getting them vitamins because ATT got something in that water, probably steroids, but besides the point. I think he slowed down because it was short notice. And I don't think that's a worry in this fight where he's going to be trying to dictate the pace. And he's going to try and use that cardio to his advantage. This is also, I also want to mention, this is a fight in the big crowd. It's also big cage. Big cage probably does favor Santos a little more. Although I don't think he's necessarily the best mover. I mean, he does have a good movement, in setting up strikes, I should say. But I think he's not necessarily the best at movement. He's kind of slow in his approach. It may be a good thing. Because he's very methodical in his approach. But besides the point, I think Francis Marshall's extremely durable, extremely tough. I know against Bulgarian, got absolutely destroyed. but that's Bulgarian. There's not the same sort of threat in this fight. He's not going to get rustled by Myron Santos. That's not happening. That is not happening. And the William Gomis fight, that was a really close fight. And I think William Gomis is really good. I was willing to bet him against Haider Emil. I bet him against Brito. I love me some William Gomis, and I think he's really good. And be able to have it really close, put him in a good submission in round 3, which Gomis was able to fight out of, which is very impressive. I think that says a lot. I think Francis Marshall is very underrated. That win against Marcelo Rojo, feeling the jitters, able to get in the flow, land big shots, finish him. I think that's pretty good. He's able to get his wrestling going as well. I think this is at the odds. It's crazy. I really think it's crazy. I bet this pretty early. I got plus 315 on Marshall. I'm willing to ride or die with this guy. Other things. I know I have more to say about this. Both are the same, and also comparing Ofli to Francis Marshall. Marshall's like the same size as Myron Santos. Ofli was a lot smaller than him. This is someone that's more so Myron Santos' size. Like this is not a small guy that Santos is fighting. So I think that's going to be a factor that helps Francis Marshall as well. Oh, there's more. I think the hands are going to set up the wrestling, and I think the wrestling training with guys like Gamrot, Grant Dawson, Mobster Evloev, I think that's going to help him get what he needs to win this fight. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a sub. I believe in the durability of Francis Marshall. I think you can bet his finish only, because I think there's a submission opportunity possibly. Do I think it happens? No, but would I be shocked if it does? No, I wouldn't also. I think Francis Marshall is really good. I think he's going to make a lot of improvements now at a first full camp at ATT after being there in 15 months. His new gym, levered, like always in that training room. I got a lot of belief in Francis Marshall this week, and I'm willing to ride or die with Francis Marshall. This is my biggest bet of the card. Although maybe that changes with one other fight I'll talk about, but yeah, no, I like Francis Marshall here. I think the plus 3.5 spread is probably the best way to play it, because at the very least, I think he's going to win a round, and I don't think he's going to get finished. Finish only, I think it's all right way to play it, and I think the money line, I think it's just fine. I'm going to war with Francis Fire Marshall. I'm ready to go. I really hope he shows up and does his thing this weekend. Let's go. I am worried about the leg kicks though. And I really do hope that he made those improvements, because yeah, his top control has not necessarily been the best, but he's been working on it, training with really good wrestlers. Good. Head movement, not been the best, been working on it. Hope that it's working well along with the defense. Kicks, I mean, it's a nice thing to have also in his arsenal, because he's a wrestler. Not like this guy's going to be wrestling him, but he should set them up. But again, it's ATT, and ATT is known for those leg kicks, those calf kicks, which are always really good, and that could be helpful. I hope his leg kick defense is all ready to go against Myron Santos, because that is the thing I'm really worried about. But at these odds, I'm willing to take the shot. I don't care if this is a value loser or whatever. I believe in Francis Marshall. I think he wins this fight. And that's the fight I did the most research on. So like that's probably why it took so long. And I don't think I'm going to take as long in some of these other fights. Like this one. Carlos Leal versus Alex Morono. I'm going to go decision. I think this is a little bit of a hot take, because I think most people are thinking Leal finishes. I think Morono's a tough guy. I think in these other fights where he's looked bad. No. The other fight was not there. Against Nico Price and Santiago Ponzinibbio is the one I was looking for. Against Ponzinibbio, like, short notice, gassed out. He was looking good, Morono. Against Nico Price, short notice, he looked awful. But again, short notice, and it was super duper short notice for both guys. It was like one of the worst fights I've ever seen, and I think it was because of how short notice it was. I don't want to be like super mean to Morono because of that. And then the D-Rod fight, he looked pretty all right, to be honest. Was this one decision was really close? I thought D-Rod won, but it was close. I don't think Morono's like that bad, and I think on a full camp, he's going to be looking to survive. He's going to try and not take as much damage. Carlos Leal's is a freaking huge human being. I expect him to maul Morono, but I think Morono is going to keep himself safe and just not die. I think the over is probably a way to look at it. I'm curious about the over. How much? Plus 2.5, plus 105 at over 2.5. I might put a small bet on that because I think there is value there, and that's the way to play it. Although I bet you if you just wait till last minute, people are gonna be betting Liao finish only, something like that, like finish. I think that number will probably be pretty good. Carlos Liao like over 2.5. I don't hate that actually. Because I do think Liao is going to win this. It does feel like the UFC are giving them a gift, giving Liao a gift for like getting robbed against Rinat Fakhretdinov. Although I won't lie, I thought that fight was close. I thought you could actually make an argument for 2-1 Rinat. Would that necessarily be the right argument? I don't know. We could probably still give the Carlos Liao, but 3-0 Rinat's one of the worst scorecards ever. I don't know how you can give him 3-0. That was just awful. But yeah, I don't think Moreno is going to get as like destroyed as like I think people are making it out to be. But I do think it's gonna be pretty easy for Liao. Next fight up the card: Bruno Pereira versus Armen Petrosyan. Give me Armen Petrosyan. I think he'll win. Decision. I'll go KO. Round 1 or 2. Round 2. I'll go Petrosyan round 2 KO, just because Bruno Pereira is the type of guy who's gonna just die on his shield. Go. Well, if he dies, he dies, kind of thing. I think Petrosyan is just a levels fight, especially on the feet, because Petrosyan is just a monster kickboxer. I love him against like just anyone on the feet. I mean, not anyone. Don't say that, but like he's got a good chance against a lot of dudes on the feet in the UFC, and Bruno Pereira, no difference. Sure, Bruno Pereira can land a big shot. Do I think he does? No. Bruno Pereira probably should look at the grappling in this fight and try and maybe ground pound Armen, but I don't think it's gonna happen. RoboCop had trouble doing that with Armen Petrosyan. I don't think Bruno Pereira is like anything special. I know he's got a judo background. He's really good at judo. Sure, maybe you can get a judo throw, but I don't think he's gonna be able to do much on the ground with Petrosyan. I think Petrosyan can make his way up on the feet if that happens. Just land the bigger shots. Bruno Pereira's gas tank is not good. Getting out cardioed by Abus Magomedov is kind of ridiculous. I don't know. Like I remember thinking live, like, oh my god, Abus Magomedov is screwed, man. I bet I'm Abus. Like, no, what are you doing? And then he's like, he looks at the clock. He's super tired. He just shoots a takedown and gets in and subs Bruno. I couldn't believe that. I literally could not believe that. But no, I think Petrosyan should do his thing here and look good. Am I looking to bet it? No. Honestly, no. I think the way to bet, if you're going to bet Petrosyan, bet either significant strikes, because I think that's pretty likely because he's very good at volume. Actually, I am curious about the UFC stats. And also, bet Petrosyan live, because the longer this fight goes, the more it's in favor of Petrosyan, easily. The strikes landed 5.95 to 3.76 for Petrosyan. Strikes absorbed more so for Petrosyan, but I think that might be due to his matchups. But that's interesting to know. Maybe not as confident in that 6-strike bet, but yeah, I think Petrosyan should do his thing. Would I be shocked of a Bruno Pereira mean KO? No. But yeah, if you're betting him Petrosyan straight up, there's a chance of him just getting mean KO'd for no reason, just because it was meant to be. But I think if you bet it live, it's probably not going to be as good of a number. But if you bet it live, it's going to be looking good. Ray Sarria versus Joshua Van. This is a great fight. Ray Sarria is definitely in this fight. I'm going to go Josh Van by round 3 KO. Oh man, put some respect on Ray Sarria. I would not be shocked if Sarria subs Josh Van. And I would suggest, I'm not tracking this or anything like that. I'm not going to be putting a bet on this fight. Although I think I'll look at the under, or I'm going to look at fight does not go the distance. I think that's like a good look with how these guys fight. I don't, if it's round 3, Ray Sarria is tired. I don't know how he's going to survive the onslaught that Joshua Van's going to be trying to give him. I don't know how he's going to be doing that. Fight does not go the distance plus 130. I don't hate that. But Ray Sarria's ground game is ridiculous. It, like, on his road to UFC fight, to get into the UFC, I think it was probably... No, it's not even on here. I guess it was... Damn, I don't know why this... I feel like this should be listed. Because it was a submission. It might have been listed as a KO. I don't know. But it looked like he was decapitating the guy. Like, it was one of the most ridiculous submissions I have ever seen. This guy, Ray Sarria, is good. His ground game is elite. I really do believe that. Joshua Van is known for giving up round ones. I think he's been taken down before. I think Ray Cerulia, not necessarily like the wrestler kind of style, but he's a little more awkward. I think that unorthodox nature is what's gonna be able to get him round one, get a takedown, and maybe even get a submission round one. I don't or round one, round two, possibly. I think that sort of thing can absolutely happen. I don't think Joshua Van's like defense on the ground is necessarily like spectacular. Sure, he's pretty all right. I think he can keep himself safe. That's why I'm picking Van, because I do think he'll drown him late, because Ray Cerulia's card is not necessarily the best in the world. But I do think it wouldn't be surprised if there's an ARB opportunity where if you bet Ray pre, and then as the fight goes, you bet Van live, ARB, you make money no matter what. I think that's the best way to go. Or if you bet Ray pre, gets a sub, hey, pretty nice. But I think the unorthodox nature of Ray Cerulia's takedowns and submission game gives him a really good chance of winning this fight. But if we do get into later rounds, Van's able to survive that. I think he's going to put an onslaught. I think he's going to put a beating on Ray Cerulia. I think he's going to finish him late if it gets to that point, especially if Ray Cerulia gasses out. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. I lean that way. I'd probably look at unders for like a bet. I think Ray pre Van live is the way to go. I'm not going to be tracking that because you can't put live bets on Bet.me.tips, but I'm making that suggestion. If I do bet a bet on Bet.me.tips, it'll be probably a small bet on the fight does not go the distance, because I think there's upside on both sides. Upside in Cerulia getting a sub early or Van getting a finish late. So yeah, that's what I think. Great fight though. Great fight. Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. I'm going Blades to win a decision, but I'm not confident. At these odds, especially, you can't trust Blades. You cannot trust Blades. I wouldn't be shocked if Kuniev like somehow pulls out a win. If I'm being honest, I don't necessarily rate Kuniev. Think he's like the best thing ever, best thing since sliced bread. No, I do think Blades is pretty much better everywhere. Maybe he can get held up by Kuniev. I don't really think so, but I mean, Jelton Almeida was. I don't know. I do think Blades is just better everywhere, but you can't trust his fight IQ, man. You can't trust his fight IQ, and Curtis Blades is very possible to be responsible for another loss, like that Sergey Pavlovich fight. I don't think that would have changed anything if he shot more takedowns, but I mean, once he decided to shoot for one, he got shucked off after trying to strike with him too much and taking too much damage. Like he gets in his own way, and you cannot bet that. You cannot bet that. I think maybe the longer the fight goes is an interesting bet, maybe. Although you can't trust Curtis Blades' chin anyway, so it's like a tough sell, to be honest. Like, I think this is dogger pass if you're betting it. I'm not going to be betting on the Kuniev side. Maybe live if I see enough I like, I'll be on the Kuniev side. But he's the only side you can even consider betting, I think. This is just a pass for me. I do think Blades should get it done, though. King Green versus Mauricio Hufi. Oh, this hurts me. I want to pick Green so bad, but I just can't. Give me Rufi round 1 KO. I still think Rufi's a fraud. Would I be surprised if he fumbles this one? No. But I do think he gets this one done. I do think a good look is betting the under 1.5, like now. And then as the fight comes closer to coming to fruition, like actually happening, you bet like an over, like over 2.5, or a fight goes a distance. Because I don't think if it get to that long point in the fight, I don't think Hufi's chances of winning, not winning. His chances of getting a finish diminish heavily. Yeah, I think he's just kind of like a round 1 guy. I mean, maybe because of his last fight, he like spreads out his cardio better. But Green is too hittable now. His chin is not as there. He got dropped by Tony Ferguson. Got dropped by Jim Miller. Not good looks. Just not good. Jalen Turner, it was a possible life-changing knockout. I want to get to Green, but I just can't. I think maybe something to maybe look at is maybe 6 strikes on Bobby Green, because there's a chance that maybe he lands more significant strikes and then just gets KO'd and you win your bet. I don't think that's like a out of this world possibility, because I did bet Mauricio Hufi more significant strikes against Long Top last time. I put a good amount on that. That ended up losing. I was very unhappy with Mauricio Hufi that night. Like, he was like, I know this guy's a fraud, but I think he should do his thing for 3 rounds. He doesn't have 3-round cardio with how he fights, which makes sense with how he fights. But I think that's an okay look betting wise. But I really like that under 1.5. Like, what's under 1.5? Maybe Mauricio Hoofy under 1.5 plus 150 with like over 2.5 plus 105, or even fight to goes a distance, which I think is probably pretty likely if we get to that over 2.5 mark. I think those are really good looks. So that's how I would play it, but not Roofy money line, but Roofy KO probably would be the way if you want like a prop like that. Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Lucindo. This one is tough for me. I do think it's dog or pass. It's dog or pass at the line. Lucindo did not win her last fight. Lucindo did not. Marina Rodriguez won that fight, and I stand on that. I'm a Marina Rodriguez stan. Why does she have to fight Jillian Robertson? Both those girls are some of my favorites at strawweight. But anyways, she did not win that fight. Although there were weird circumstances in that fight. I think if I remember correctly, I think Marina Rodriguez like got a knockdown or something that looked like a knockdown, and like a judge still gave it around to Lucindo, and that was why Marina lost that fight, which is crazy. Let me check. No, there's no knockdown, but I remember thinking it was something like round 1 where Marina Rodriguez is doing like really good work on the feet, or maybe round 2, something like that. But besides the point, I do like Lucindo. I do like Lemos as well. Would I be shocked if Lemos finds like a guillotine or something like that? No, not at all. She's got a killer guillotine. I wouldn't be surprised if Lucindo gets caught in one. So if you want like a prop like that, I don't think that's like a bad bet, if I'm honest. If you want, because I think that's actually like possible with how Lucindo fights. And this does feel like one of the fight that might be like a too big of a step up too soon. Although I do think Marina Rodriguez is really good. Got robbed doing good against Lemos late, but Herzog took it away. Marina Rodriguez love is undying. Probably, I mean, I bet you Yasmin Lucindo to win in round 3 to start, round 2 to start. It's not bad looks. Although I do think she's probably live to get a sub as well, because Lemos has been able to get. You're able to sub Lemos. It's not like the most impossible thing in the world to do. Although I do think this probably goes to points. I'm gonna go Lucindo by points, buzz. Not confident. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets like dropped by Lemos or like hurt, because Lemos hits different in this weight class. I don't. And at this level, I think I even include this level of women's MMA. Age doesn't matter as much. It doesn't matter as much. Like girls of Amanda Lemos' age can win. It's like the championship level fights and like the really upper tier fights that like age really matters. But I don't think it matters as much here. So I'm not like worried about that. She was doing all right against Jandiroba. Excuse me, I can't say Verna's name for some reason, her last name. She's doing all right until she wasn't. I was so frustrating to watch. Because like, yes, no, what are you doing? Ugh. That made me frustrated. Not like her wins have aged the best, to be honest. Marina Rodriguez robbed against Andrade too. Don't forget. Nah. Weili Zhang, she got absolutely smoked in that one. It was just a complete levels fight. Mackenzie Dern, close, but I did think Lemos did enough. Got knockdowns. She looked good in that fight, although there was times not so good. But I believe in Lucindo to be able to get the takedowns. I wouldn't be shocked if she gets put into a deep guillotine and it's really, really tight, but she finds a way to get out of that and then just lays on top. That's kind of how I think this fight very possibly can go. So yeah, I think I lean Lucindo to be able to get her wrestling going and win with that, but I can't bet that. I cannot bet it. It's dog or pass. And I totally get anyone on the Lemos side. Godspeed. Very, very possible you win. Because yeah, it's not like Lucindo's going to keep going up to the top and just not lose. It's probably going to lose. She's probably going to lose at one point. This might be a kind of step up that she does lose to against like a really physical lady like Lemos. I shout out Lucindo. I think she's like the closest to my age in the UFC, so shout out to her. I do like her a lot. Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This is so tough. This is so tough for me, especially after weigh-ins, and I'll explain why. So going in, I was like, oh, I'm very confident. Bahamondes. Do I go around 2 KO or decision? we'll go decision. I think Turner could be like pretty durable. But I was like, I like Bahamondes. I think his striking is good enough to be able to deal with the athleticism of Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner, very athletic in nature, and he does hit hard, very, very hard at lightweight. I know Bahamondes is very hittable himself. That's a bit of a worry. But yeah, I think that his striking ability offsets the advantages Jalen Turner has, because he's not going to have a size advantage here. Bahamondes is a huge dude at this weight class. I love Bahamondes' striking. I think is really good. Jalen Turner is really good as well. Why I'm very iffy on this fight is after weigh-ins. What were the things I saw in weigh-ins? Jalen Turner made weight easy, nice, very good. Then he went on the weigh-in show, and then Jalen Turner is getting interviewed. He didn't sound sucked out at all. Maybe like his voice is a little dry, only natural. Didn't sound that sucked out to me, and tells me really good weight cut. And in that, when he's talking about it, he's like, "Yeah, I'm totally down to implement grappling." Oh my god, I'm scared. I don't know. And the thing is, this is a step down in competition for Jalen Turner in terms of like ranking stuff like that. Maybe not, because I think you can argue Hinato. It's like that, but I can go over these fights with Jalen Turner, and like these are not bad looks. I know like Ludwig Klein not necessarily the best look, but I think Klein's pretty good. McDessie not a good look, but debut, I think you can give him some slack there. But the thing is with Turner, because of those things, it's like, I'm not as confident about Bahamondes. I think I'm ultimately just going to stick with Bahamondes. I was like, okay, I thought this way. I'm not going to let these new things maybe affect me. But it's like, if I had any money on Bahamondes, I'd be cashing out. Like, I don't want to be dealing with this right now. And I think maybe a Bahamondes live bet might be a good look, because yeah, he does get hit up. And maybe like early on he gets grounded or something like that. Gets hit a bunch. I know he's with Bilal, so he's got a good team. So I'm assuming he's probably fine in the ground game. But it's just those factors I wasn't necessarily expecting in this fight. If it is implemented, I'm scared. In these last fights, Jalen Turner against Renato Moicano, he had that fight done. He's just dumb. Dumb for not finishing it. Not trustworthy. I get it. He's not really trustworthy. King Green, I mean, look good. There's not much to say there. Dan Hooker, close fight. He had a pretty bad weight cut. He looked so thin at those scales. He looked awful in the scales for that weight cut. I'll say that. I think he might have missed weight too, actually. I don't remember off the top of my head. Mateus Gamrot, short notice, different opponent. Gamrot able to wrestle him into a really close fight. I did think Gamrot won, but that's a completely different matchup. I can't get this out of my head. This is a buy low spot on Turner, and it's like I don't really want to be on the Bahamondes side as of that. I think this might be another ARB opportunity where you go with Jalen Turner. You know what? I'm just going with Jalen Turner. I feel like I'm talking myself into it. I love Bahamondes. I'm probably rooting for him, but it's just there's so many things, and like he's been looking good. Jalen Turner's been looking good even in these losses. It's tough. This is a really tough one. This one has a good chance to be fight of the night. This one in the co-main event. This is going to be a banger. Oh, man. This is so tough to call. I want to pick Baha. I love Bahamondes, but I think I'm going to go with Jalen Turner, man. Not confident at all. But again, like I was saying, I think there's an arbitrage opportunity. Because I think Jalen Turner has a good chance of hitting Bahamondes a bunch late. Like, Bahamondes is very hittable. And because of that, maybe you can play these dog odds on Turner now, and then live you can get out with Bahamondes and make money no matter what. All free to go. Especially if he gets takedowns going, because if he gets takedowns going, I bet you those odds are going to change really quick. So yeah, give me Jalen Turner, man. I've been fighting higher levels of competition as well. Although everyone at lightweight's pretty good. Just been fighting the better levels of competition. I think I'm going Jalen Turner. I flip my pick here. Yeah. Not confident at all, though. It is a buy low spot on Turner, so I will say that. Next, I have the card. Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. 2, the rematch. I'm very excited for this one. I'm going Fiziev. I think we'll win a decision. I don't KO. Nah, I'll go decision. But I tell you what, I like Fiziev finish only, which is last I checked was like -200. -170. I like that even more. So I'm probably gonna be on this fight with that, and I'm probably gonna be playing Fiziev money line, and maybe even his spread is -3.5 spread a little bit, not too much because I get it. It's tough because it's Gaethje, and like he's gonna be in a war, he's gonna compete well, but like, oh man, it sucks that I'm saying this too because I had so much money on Gaethje to beat Dan Hooker because I was so confident in him in that matchup, but I think Fiziev wins, man. I loved Gaethje against Hooker, but not so much here against Fiziev because like Hooker's legs were going to be there to get kicked, and Hooker is not like Max Holloway where he's very hittable, and Justin Gaethje can fight his style where he's going backwards. Because I don't know why the hell he's fighting Max Holloway going backwards. It's just dumb. I don't know. Name someone who's ever fought Max Holloway, fought him moving backwards and won. You can't name anyone. It's not happened. It was just a dumb game plan by Gaethje. Even then, he round 4, he definitely won. He dropped Max, even though the stats don't say so. He won that one. And I thought round 1 was really close. Max Holloway hit that spinning kick. I was like, oh shoot, maybe you give that to Max, because I was there live in person for that fight, and it was and people were like, it's either 3-1 Max or 2-2 going into the 5th because of round 1 was close, because we thought Gaethje did really good work in round 1, but round might have been swayed at the end. But I digress. Bad KO taken by Gaethje, but he's taking some time to get back. He's always getting hurt in fights. It's not good. I'm not crazy about Gaethje saying that. Excuse me. I'm not crazy about Gaethje saying that he's like changing his fight style or something like that. I know he talked about like, oh, this is more a mental thing, but even then, like how he fought Fiziev before is how he should fight again. Even then, in that fight, I thought Fiziev won 2-1, and that was even with the eye poke, which clearly affected Fiziev in the fight. Clearly affected him in the fight, and he was winning. So you know what? I think Fiziev's been ready to fight for like a while. I think September even. He's been wanting to fight. He's been willing to fight. I think Fiziev has been ready for an opportunity. I think he's going to be good to go. I got belief in Fiziev. I think he's going to put on a show. I think he's going to... I mean, both these guys are going to put on a show. This is going to be a great fight. Yeah. I'm going to take Fiziev to win. I think he can outstrike Gaethje. I think significant strikes Gaethje. Not Gaethje. Excuse me. Fiziev's a good look. But let me check their first fight. Because again, I do think that like stuff like the eye poke really did affect what happened there in that fight, and maybe like Fiziev was able to do more in that sense, that fight. Let me see here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a finish. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because Gaethje's there to be hit. Fiziev strikes absorbed. Strikes landed. Gaethje does land a lot of strikes, to be fair. But yeah, I'm trying to look at their matchup before. Where are we? Right here. Gaethje landed more. And a lot of those lands were in round 2. No, round 2 went to Fiziev. And then round 3 was more as he got tired. I think, and also I do like that Fiziev mentioned, I don't want to go to the hospital this time. That makes me think he's not going to be doing stupid stuff as much this time around to get as much of a firefight. I know how he fights is kind of like a firefight all the time, but I think that's such a really good aspect for Fiziev, and I think that's going to be like super helpful for him. So with that standpoint, I like that for Fiziev. There's a bet on Bovada. It's like total takedowns landed by Justin Gaethje -275. I don't think he's gonna go for a takedown this time. I don't think so. Like sure he did it last time. I don't think he's gonna be going for it this time. So I think that's a pretty safe bet. Fiziev moneyline, I think, is all right. Fiziev finish, if you like finish, I wins inside the distance or just KO, I think is all right look as well. Probably TKO because I don't think he's gonna be going for no subs. But I like the plus 3.5 because that measures as well like that takes into account possible a decision being in play, and you can still win that. But the KO bet, you just lose. Like Rafael TKO decision -150 compared to -155. Why? What are you doing? Don't do that. Just play the money line at that point. Mm, yeah, I like Fiziev to win. I think he's just a more technical striker. I thought he won the first time. He's younger than Fiziev. I know he's coming off an injury, but I do think he's taking time to get better. Like taking the time to get better with rehab off with the injury. I am worried about Ramadan because I know Fiziev's a Muslim, but I'm not sure if he's doing the things like Ankalaev is doing. Ankalaev outright said like for Ramadan, I'm just like not gonna be doing it for like a week, and then I'm gonna be going into Ramadan as soon as like the fight's over. Um, Short notice, I'm not crazy about either, but yeah, I like Fiziev. I think he should win this fight. I'm probably gonna be betting him as well. I like him as a bet. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Sick main event. Oh my god. My Wi-Fi, my computer. Hope we're still running. I don't know what's happening. This is bad. I can't see my screen. That was weird. Okay, we're back. I don't know what the hell just happened. That was just my computer just completely like froze, and now we're back, and StreamYard is working just fine. Perfect. Let's get into the main event. I'm going Ankalaev to win by round 2 KO. By round 2 KO. And let me explain. I'm not ultra confident on Ankalaev, as I've seen so many people. I don't know how anyone can be ultra confident either one of these guys this week. I think maybe that's my hot take, and I have an even more of a hot take in this fight. I'll say this: I don't think Ankalaev's wrestling is that good. I don't think it's anything that special. If I'm being honest with you, I think his wrestling is better than Alex Pereira's wrestling. I think he can implement it in Pereira, and I think he can win with it. What I will say is like maybe he was gonna have some trouble with it. I think Magomed Ankalaev can outstrike Alex Pereira on the feet. And I think a lot of that has to do with the threat of the takedown. Oops, I didn't mean submission. I don't want submission, KO. And that's why I'm leaning with KO round 2. I think those straight shots by Ankalaev can absolutely catch Pereira and put him out. I know Ankalaev does this thing where he like fakes like hooks and stuff like that, and he can get caught like that from Pereira, which really worries me. Oh man, but Ankalaev is so dumb sometimes, man. The fight IQ is just not there sometimes. It just isn't. His leg kick defense is not that great. I know he's gotten better at it. I know he's checked kicks in like the Walker fight as well as the Rakic fight. He's gotten better at it. But still against Pereira, it's going to be there. He's going to be able to get kicked. Not good. Not good if that happens, especially early. But Pereira does have to worry about takedowns, so maybe he doesn't kick as much. It's going to have to be really well timed. The kicks are going to be everything. And it's like, it's hard to trust with that. Because you know Pereira is going to be looking for those. But I think with Magomed's style, where he's very patient in nature, I think he can wait and find the shot. I don't think Pereira's chin's anything special. I don't. I think he can absolutely knocked out. Like his defense is his offense, but with a guy like Ankalaev, who's very patient in nature, waits till he finds a shot. I like that with Ankalaev here. I do think the option to wrestle can come and will come for Ankalaev if he does well with the hands. Yeah, I mean that's my hot take. I think Ankalaev can outstrike Alex Pereira. Maybe not in terms of like numbers and volume, but I think he can land the better shots. Is more so what I mean. Yeah, I don't want Ankalaev to win. I want Pereira to win, but that's just what I think. Although I'm not confident in it. I see like a lot of people like 4 units on Ankalaev. I can't do that. I think I'll probably have a little bet on Ankalaev, but nothing. Probably nothing crazy. Like maybe 1 unit max. I just can't do it. I don't have enough trust in this guy to do it. Like watch this. Watch this happen where Pereira beats Ankalaev, and then in his next fight he fights Carlos Ulberg and then just loses. Just watch it happen. Watch it, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'd rather bet like more money on Ulberg, like bigger dog money, than Ankalaev even at this price. I do think Ankalaev wins though. Yeah, like I think the striking, he gets it done with the strike, and I think it does have to be done early. The reason why I say it has to be done early is because of the leg kicks. I think if he does get damage to the leg kicks at like later on in the fight, I think he's in big trouble. Like I'm not sure how he's going to be able to handle what Pereira's throwing at him at that point. Like maybe he like tries to be on the ground and get up, but I don't think so. Pereira's gonna, you know what? If he gets on the ground, Pereira's gonna do what he can to survive. Do nothing, just survive. Nothing dumb to get himself in trouble. And then next round, here we go again. That's probably what Pereira's gonna do. Yeah, that's what I expect. Give me Ankalaev to win. I'm not like as confident as I've seen other people on Ankalaev this week, and I don't know how people can be ultra confident in Pereira either. Like I don't know how you can be. So now let's look through each of the fights again. And I talk you about my 6 strikes and more takedowns bets and like what I like on those fronts. 6 strikes, more takedowns, probably Jordan Santos. It's gonna be this guy's gonna be winning until he's not. So more significant strikes, more takedowns, especially more takedowns. I think Jordan Santos is probably a good look in that sense. Chris Gutierrez, Sean Castaneda. I think 6 strikes, Gutierrez is pretty good always because Gutierrez always has really good volume. And yes, as I talked about earlier, Sexy Mexi's defense, not necessarily the best. More takedowns, probably Sean Castaneda. Sexy Mexi, he will go for takedowns. He can actually wrestle. Byron Santos, Francis Marshall. This is tough because I think Francis Marshall can win the 6 strike bet from being on top and landing. Although I'm not even sure if they'll be counted as 6 strikes. So I don't really even want to touch the 6 strikes, but more takedowns. Francis Marshall all day. This is the only guy who's gonna be going for any takedowns. Carlos Leal, Alex Morono, probably 6 strikes. Carlos Leal, probably more takedowns. Carlos Leal, like that's probably what it is. Bruno Ferreira, Armin Petrosian, more significant strikes. Armin Petrosian, kickboxer, more well-rounded, more technical. Bruno Ferreira needs a 1 shot. And then Bruno Ferreira probably more takedowns because Petrosian is not going for no takedowns. Ray Saruya, Joshua Van, more takedowns. Saruya, I think Saruya is going to be the only one really going for takedowns in this fight. And then Joshua Van, more significant strikes. Especially if you think the fight goes long, I think you'll get that. Although, if you do think the fight goes short, I wouldn't bet that. I would not bet this at all if you think it goes short and Saruya gets us up. But it depends how you look at it. But that's what I think happens. Curtis Blades, Kuniev, I don't really want to have any part with this if I'm being honest. Like I bet you those numbers on Blades are nasty. I just don't. I guess more 6 strikes, more takedowns of Blades, but I'm not even that confident if I'm being honest. King Green, Mauricio Hufi. I think for a value side, I think Bobby Green. I think Green's significant strikes is probably not a bad bet just because of how he fights. Like maybe Hufi can land a big one, but Green just outstrikes him in that time. More takedowns, I guess Green. I don't really, but I guess Hufi got a takedown on Malarkey, so I don't even want to be on that part. Probably Green more takedowns too, but I wouldn't even want to bet that. Lemos, Lucindo, more takedowns. Lucindo, more 6 strikes can go either way. I wouldn't want to be part of that. Lucindo's going to be trying to grapple in this fight. Jalen Turner, Bahamondes. Based on what Turner said, more takedowns. Turner, 6 strikes. I think he can go either way. Probably leave Bahamondes more 6 strikes. Justin Gaethje, Rafael Fiziev. I think Fiziev more significant strikes is a good look. More takedowns. Don't bet either. I don't think either are going to be going for them. Pereira, Magomed, more takedowns. Ankalaev is going to be the only one going for any. Although maybe Pereira goes for one, does some surprise. I bet you that line's going to be nasty on the more takedowns. So don't even do that, I think. I wouldn't be shocked in this world if like Ankalaev is has a damaged leg, and maybe Pereira just shoots a takedown. Do I think he's going to do that? No, hell no. But this is what I was thinking. Like maybe that's some way that bet can lose, and it's going to be a nasty number, and that's enough reasoning to the point it's like, okay, I'm just not going to touch it. And more 6 strikes, probably Pereira, because I don't think Ankalaev is going to be throwing that much, just because that's how his style is. But I would be shocked if 6 strikes does lead Ankalaev. So, yeah, that's what I think for this card. Very excited for this card. It's going to be a banger. We're going to be having a lot of fun with this one. Hoping my boy Francis Marshall pulls through. If he wins, this is a winning night no matter what. And yeah, not a card I'm crazy about betting, like a lot of betting stuff, but other lines I do believe in, I'm willing to ride with. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. You can check me out at Betting Me That Tips Champ Bets. And yeah, next week we'll be back again for the next card, which is, I think is that the Vittori, the Lidsey card. Oh, it is. And there's a lot of betting spots I do like on that card. So we'll get into that when that happens. Thank you so much for watching and have a great one. Peace.